hadn't planned to return to that house ever again. 7 years had passed since I last walked down the narrow street that led to my childhood memories, my best friend Ian's home, and the one person I had never been able to forget, his older sister, Zoya. Life had pushed me far away, new city, new job, new responsibilities. I told myself leaving was the right thing, that I needed to move on, that my feelings had been childish, impossible. But sometimes distance doesn't erase anything. It just freezes it. Ian called out of nowhere and asked me to come help with his father's property documents. He sounded stressed, overwhelmed. I owed him everything, so I agreed. But a part of me knew. Coming here meant facing the past I had never truly let go of. The sun was setting when I reached the house. The gate still squeaked. The front porch still had that small chipped tile we used to trip over as kids. The old mango tree still touched the top window where she used to sit with a book every summer. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The smell hit me instantly. Old wood, familiar spices, the faint scent of jasmine I remembered from years ago. But the living room was quiet. Too quiet. "Ian," I called out. No answer. Only the ticking of the clock on the wall and the rustle of wind through the back window. Maybe he was upstairs. Maybe he stepped out for a moment. I moved deeper inside, feeling memories tugging at me from every corner. That sofa, where Ian and I had stayed up all night gaming. That carpet, where Zoya once spilled coffee and laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. That staircase, where I had last seen her the day I left without saying goodbye. I turned toward it and froze. A soft sound came from above, like a footstep. Then another. Slow, hesitant, as if someone was deciding whether to come down or hide. My heart thudded. And then she appeared. Zoya stood halfway up the staircase, her hand lightly resting on the railing, her hair falling loosely over her shoulders. She looked older, but in the most painful, beautiful way. Softer, quieter, like life had carved its story into her eyes. She stared at me as if she wasn't sure I was real. I breathed her name before I even realized it. Zoya. She didn't blink, didn't speak. And then in a voice barely louder than a breath, trembling with something deep and old, she whispered, "You came back for me, didn't you?" The words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. 7 years. Not a message. Not a call. Not a single explanation for why I left the way I did. And yet this was the first thing she said. My throat tightened. I came because Ian called me. Her face fell, but only for a second. She covered it with a faint, sad smile. "Of course," she whispered, "Ian." She took one step down. The floor creaked softly. Then another. "It's late," she said. "He's not home. He won't be back tonight." I blinked. Then who was I hearing upstairs? "Me," she said softly. "Just me. I live here again." The last time I saw her, she was packed to leave for university. Independent, fearless, untouchable. "You moved back?" I asked. She nodded. "Life doesn't always go the way we want." Her voice cracked on that last word, and I noticed something I had missed before. Her hands were shaking slightly. She tried to hide it, but I saw. She reached the bottom of the stairs and stood right in front of me. "You haven't changed," she said quietly. "Not your eyes, not the way you avoid looking directly at me when you're scared." I exhaled sharply. "I'm not scared." "You always were," she said, "especially of your own feelings." Her words pulled old wounds open. She took another step closer, close enough that I could smell the faint jasmine perfume she always wore. "You didn't answer my question," she whispered. "Did you come back for me?" I looked at her, really looked. The pain, the tiredness, the hope she was trying to bury, the past she hadn't healed from. "I don't know," I said softly. She smiled in a way that almost broke me. "At least you're honest now." She turned slightly, motioning for me to follow. "Come upstairs, there's something I want to show you." I hesitated, then followed her up the old staircase that had held so many versions of us. At the end of the hallway was a small room I had never seen open before. She pushed the door. Inside was a dimly lit studio, paintings, sketches, papers everywhere. Soft music was playing from a speaker, and the walls were covered with drawings of me. Not one, not 10, dozens. Me at 17, me at 20, me imagined older, me smiling, me turning back, me standing under the mango tree. I stared at them, stunned, frozen. "You," I managed to say, "you drew these." She nodded, "Not to remember you, to forget you." My chest tightened painfully. "I tried," she whispered. "I tried so hard to erase you from my mind, but every time I drew something else, your face just replaced it." I swallowed. "Zoya, I never knew." "You weren't supposed to know." Her voice wavered. "You left. You didn't owe me anything." "I owed you everything," I said quietly. She looked up sharply. But before either of us could say more, the power flickered. Rain began hitting the window hard. The room dimmed into a soft blue glow from the streetlight outside. Zoya walked to the window and leaned on the frame slightly, as if tired. "Do you know why I live here again?" she asked. "Why?" She didn't look back. "My marriage didn't last." The words hung heavy in the room. "It was arranged," she said. "I didn't love him, he didn't love me. We both pretended for a while, then he stopped pretending." I stepped closer. "Did he hurt you?" She shook her head. "No, just left, took his things and disappeared one morning." She finally turned toward me, her eyes glistening. "You know what the strangest part was? I didn't feel heartbreak, I felt relief, and then I felt stupid." "Stupid?" She took a shaky breath. "Because the only person I had ever wanted was the one who disappeared years before my husband ever did." The silence was thick, heavy, electric. "Zoya," I whispered. She stepped right in front of me, so close I could feel her breath. "Tell me the truth now," she said softly. "Why did you really leave 7 years ago?" I closed my eyes. 7 years of guilt threatened to drown me. "I left because I loved you," I whispered, "and I was afraid of ruining everything." She inhaled sharply. "I was 20, you were 23, you had a future. I didn't want to be a problem in your life." She stared at me, stunned, almost furious. "You left," she said quietly, her voice trembling, "because you loved me." "Yes." She laughed, but it wasn't happy. It was broken. "All these years," she whispered, "I thought you left because you didn't feel anything." "I felt everything," I said, "too much." She looked at me for a long, still moment. Then she stepped closer, placed her hand flat on my chest, right over my heartbeat. My breath caught. "And now," she whispered, "do you still feel something?" I didn't answer with words. I simply placed my hand over hers, holding it against my chest. Her eyes softened, her shoulders dropped, something inside her seemed to unfreeze. "Then stay," she whispered. "Just stay tonight, don't run again." "I won't," I said. We sat near the window as rain fell around us. She talked about the years she hid her hurt. I talked about the years I buried my feelings. She laughed again, slowly, rediscovering the sound. She leaned her head on my shoulder. My arm wrapped around her like it always should have. Hours passed. And when the storm finally softened, she whispered again, soft, fragile, real. "You came back for me, didn't you?" This time I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I whispered, "and I'm not leaving again unless you tell me to." She smiled, a real one, warm and full of the girl I once knew. "Then don't ever leave." And for the first time in 7 years, my heart finally felt like it had come home.